Yeah. I don't want to do any more of that. Okay, that's really stupid, dude. Let's watch a video instead. You're embarrassing yourself.
What's up, guys? Helen here. Today I want to talk about that weird feeling I get in the pit of my stomach when Hulu feeds me an ad like this.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
That's right, advertising. But make it woke. Woke advertising has become an increasingly omnipresent phenomenon in our media landscape. It's not enough to sell a hamburger, you gotta sell a mental health revolution. Now, I'm not saying I prefer the gross advertisements of yesteryear, or even any ads at all. However, if you're cynical like us, you probably feel a little weird about your bath soap being imbued with progressive new ideas about womanhood. In the interest of maintaining a healthy skepticism toward anyone who's ultimately trying to sell me more stuff, I've been wondering, why does every advertisement lately seem to come furnished with a political message? And what does it mean for us? Welcome to this Wisecrack edition on how advertising got woke. And hey, if you hate ads, woke or otherwise, there's a way you can watch Wisecrack videos without any brand asking you to do anything. By becoming a patron, you can watch all of our content ad-free. It also helps us keep making great in-depth content like this video, whether or not it's ad-friendly. Check out patreon.com/wisecrack or click right here to learn more. We have to start by asking, what exactly is a woke ad? Is it when SpaghettiOs tweets about Pearl Harbor? Or is it more like when IKEA decides to feature a gay couple back in 1994? Or is it when Nike pays Colin Kaepernick to be a spokesperson precisely because of his activism? We'd argue that woke advertising is defined by its invocation of social causes and social movements of a given moment, especially those affiliated with progress and social change. So, sorry SpaghettiOs, you're not woke. That's not to say conservative brands don't also try to capitalize on the politics of their consumers, but nobody would call that woke. Especially these days, woke ads typically focus on identity-based issues surrounding race, gender, sexuality, disabilities, and so forth. In this way, the Kendall Jenner Pepsi ad is woke because it intended to align itself with Black Lives Matter. It just failed hilariously. Under this definition, the secret deodorant ad in the 1970s, strong enough for a man, made for a woman, was probably somewhat woke for the feminist movement at the time.
You have
but the
attacked
same
me
ethos
and
in a
lied.
CoverGirl ad in 2020? Probably not. There's also the question of whether, say, showing a female executive in an ad is some woke affirmation of girl bosses, or just, what professional life is like today. Now, a lot of you might be screaming, all advertising is self-interested, you big dum-dum. Companies are just trying to sell stuff to as many people as possible, regardless of skin color, sexual orientation, or gender. They're just getting with the times and targeting their customers accordingly, whether that's two dudes putting their relationship through the gauntlet of building IKEA furniture together, or just this guy who needs an energy drink for gamers, or whoever needs this pink gamer chair. But economic reasons aside, what if it's just really bad for society? Advertisements, like any form of visual or literary storytelling, have always been laden with values. They are reflections of our culture, and if our culture wants you to move to the burbs and raise a family, that's what they're gonna reflect. Or if society wants you to get rich and hot, ads will also reflect that. But as values change, ads naturally do too. As a result, and contrary to popular belief, woke advertising is not at all a new phenomenon. It's pretty old. Historically, most woke advertising appealed to women, overwhelmingly white, by reflecting various stages of the feminist movement, as explained by Andy Zeisler, author of We Were Feminists Once. In the late 19th and early 20th century, when some younger women were feeling stifled by Victorian notions of idealized womanhood, advertisers piggybacked off the existing feminist notion of the emancipated new woman by frequently depicting young, independent gals who bucked against Victorian norms and even served on juries. The new woman was, according to Zeisler, essentially a watered-down, more palatable suffragette who, surprise, liked buying things. This conflict...
I love that, dude. It's like... This is literally the equivalent of Kendall Jenner offering a Pepsi to a cop to stop police brutality, you know what I mean? Or sorry, basically to stop police brutality. It's just the same shit. The woman suffragette movement has chosen.
between the advertiser-friendly new woman and the ruckus-raising, hunger-striking suffragette is at the heart of the problem
I was peeing, that's why I missed that part.
with woke advertising. And it is maybe best illustrated by the Torches of Freedom campaign, which very publicly debuted during a parade in 1929. It was masterminded by one Edward Bernays, the creator of modern public relations and Sigmund Freud's nephew. Bernays believed that people
And the reason why, and also the reason why you think that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
people bought things not based on what they needed, but based on the feelings a given commodity inspired. So he organized a stunt to sell cigarettes to women who were typically looked down upon if they smoked outside of their homes. He paid a group of debutantes to light up during New York's Easter Day parade, and made sure the event was both captured by the press and interpreted as a protest for women's rights. Cigarettes were no longer just for men. They were torches of freedom, symbolizing female emancipation. Fittingly, the cigarette industry would adapt its ads for the next phase of the women's movement 40 years later, when Virginia Slims told women, "You've come a long way, baby," as they sold them cancer sticks. That 1968 tagline was in itself a response to a growing threat for advertisers. Feminists no longer interested in traditional beauty standards, housework, and so on might end up buying less lipstick and Clorox. So, some savvy brands, like Charlie Perfume, made like advertisers of
Dude, you guys gotta stop fucking spamming like news stories from your town or some shit. Or like stuff that's going on in Belarus or whatever while we're watching something entirely different. Like, please stop. I know this is supposed to be a news broadcast, but like, goddamn, dude. I'm not gonna fucking cover the news the entire day, alright?
Chewing on your fingers, Keck White.
and incorporated elements of the feminist movement, depicting a liberated, bold woman.
Like, I literally don't give a fuck about your mayor. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't care what the fuck happened with your mayor.
Held down a job and look good while doing it, without explicitly using controversial feminist language. In all of these examples, we can see one of the first dangers of woke advertising. It dilutes the political message of a movement. Women, who were literally not allowed to apply for a credit card without a male undersigner, were asked to redirect their attention to buying the feminist perfume or the emancipatory cigarette. Why march at all when you can consume? Fittingly, a similar phenomenon happened to Black Americans. Before the civil rights.
Mate, a source DM me saying if Bo Black's guy and someone else are doing a 40-minute expose on you. Yeah, I know. It's the same dude who was like, was the one who said is estrogen leaking out of him and Bo Black's. I don't care. Like, I don't know what to do about it. Okay, there is no. I don't know what to tell you. I am not interested.
Rights movement and the
I will
rise
most likely not watch it either.
of the black middle class in the 1950s, advertising to people of color was virtually non-existent. Advertisers had simply always targeted white Americans. Viewed in that framework, mainstream ads showing black people at all was, at face value, sadly, kind of progressive. Some of the first companies to even advertise in black-run newspapers were, you guessed it, cigarette companies. The reason they did it is pretty instructive. Internal documents for tobacco company Brown and Williamson report that in the case of Black and Hispanic communities, the relatively small and often tightly knit minority community can work to B&W's marketing advantage if exploited properly. And just like with the feminist movement, as the burgeoning civil rights movement made headway, ads began co-opting imagery associated with Black power, none more bluntly than this 1970 JCPenney ad that reads "Slack Power." As historian Stuart Ewan put it at the time, the advertising industry, seeking markets, has generated a mass culture which reflects the spirits, but not the cutting edge of this resistance. But by the 1980s, our contemporary brand of woke advertising was really coming into its own. Again, aimed primarily at white women in what Zeisler calls empowertizing. This was a time when consumer choices exploded, and consumption became elevated as a measure of liberation. As cultural historian and media critic Susan J. Douglas put it, elitism and narcissism merged in a perfect appeal to forget the political already and get back to the personal, which you might be able to do something about. Specifically, by buying those designer eyeglasses, you could change your small corner of the world. Ads would continue to capitalize off of feminist critiques of mass consumer culture, as seen in this Nike ad campaign in the early 90s. What's so interesting about this ad is the way it specifically invokes the pain of women living in a world that judges them overwhelmingly by their appearance. Rather than being judged by curves, it reads, a woman should be judged by who she is and who she is trying to become. This leads to another serious problem with woke advertising. If all advertising sells dreams, woke ads tend to sell the dream of respect and equality. Reading this ad stirs real emotions, literally making Oprah cry on air. Ads sell solutions, whether it's for your leaky whatever or your untoned arms. The solution Nike is selling, in this case, is the solution to sexism. You're not buying a running shoe made in a sweatshop, you're buying equality and respect. The guiding principle, shopping, but make it feminist. It's also worth noting that the feminism of Nike was anything but. As a coalition of women's groups said at the time, while the women who wear Nike shoes in the United States are encouraged to perform their personal best, the Indonesian, Vietnamese, and Chinese women making the shoes often suffer from inadequate wages, corporal punishment, forced overtime, and/or sexual harassment. Women weren't the only group being targeted by woke advertising at the turn of the century, though. The aforementioned IKEA ad was—
If you guys watched Agitprop and liberal feminism, my take on liberal feminism, you know that I use this exact same argument.
only the first of many active campaigns by corporations to court so-called queer dollars. As author Alexandra Chasen explains in her book Selling Out, such courting of the queer market was said to signal an end to homophobia. This can most visibly be seen in the rise of everything rainbow in recent decades, an effective co-opting of the rainbow flag designed by gay activist Gilbert Baker in the late 70s. Everything from rainbow underwear to rainbow Instagram images to rainbow Chipotle burritos purport to celebrate queerness, while really elevating the simple act of buying shit. Walk is, and always will be, extra. As Chasen puts it when describing rainbow clothes, the reduction of politics to style implies that consumption can amount to political change. Attempts to imbue advertising with woke messaging became increasingly more explicit throughout the 2000s, best exemplified by the ubiquity of "this is what a feminist looks like" shirts, which litterize the notion that buying the right thing signals your commitment to the cause of women's rights. And in the past 5 years, as feminism has become increasingly less taboo, advertising that co-ops feminist language has become all but ubiquitous. That's not surprising. Woke advertising generally supports the status quo, with risk-averse corporations typically choosing to piggyback off of existing social change rather than furthering it. In this lens, it's no surprise that Beyoncé's 2014 feminist VMAs moment was followed by an explosion of brands evoking feminism. Queen Bee made it safe, and advertising followed. What's really interesting about these ads is that they have nothing to do with the product, and everything to do with exploring the pain and oppression women and girls face. Dubbed #femvertising for their purportedly feminist messaging, these ads almost guaranteed to tug at the heartstrings. This is already a reason to be wary. Remember Edward Bernays. It's not about the product, it's about the way the product makes you feel, and if these sanitary napkins make you feel sad for the way your 12-year-old self was pigeonholed, you're more likely to buy them. Perhaps after seeing the rampant success of femvertising, corporations have in recent years begun to explicitly draw on Black activism for inspiration. A Procter & Gamble ad from 2017 shows several Black parents talking to their children about the racism they will inevitably encounter. It concludes by imagining a world where such conversations are not necessary. As with women's ads, these ads draw on real pain, while offering wish fulfillment by imagining a less racist future. Sound a little manipulative? Never is this—
Let's get to that post-racialized future with Procter and Gamble.
The spirit of justice.
Oh, damn.
You love your father, the devil.
Can you #get a welcome to the jungle?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mom. Hadi so kırmızı olan. Well, I will. Mom made the tendies that I usually eat made in the Instapot. First time the Instapot has ever been used in this house. About to find out if it tastes good or not. A little worried. It's weird. It's weird because it's what I did.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm out of control. I apologize
It's
for
good.
that.
Check this out. A Chase man, U.S. President Donald Trump signed several executive orders
Dude,
on
I
Saturday
just
after
banned you,
talks on the
dude. Do you
latest
want me to ban you from like sending ads too? Stop being fucking annoying. You know we already covered that. Thank you, Mom. Friday's always better. Are you permanently living with the fam now or something? No. I'm not permanently living with the fam. But, oh my God. Macy's, this is a great ass Pawn Stars epi. 17 rare patriotic U.S. military items. Oh, that's going to be great.
This more apparent than in that widely panned Pepsi ad, in which Kendall Jenner dissolves tensions between the police and protesters with a can of soda. Ironically, this ad functions like a much less subtle version of 1971's I'd Like to Buy the World a Coke. Aired in the midst of the Vietnam War and massive social upheaval, it simply implied that if everyone chilled out with a carbonated beverage, wars and stuff wouldn't happen. I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company. It went on to receive countless accolades, inspired fan mail, and, as a song, even charted in several countries. But the Jenner Pepsi ad somehow crossed a threshold of believability by making all too obvious the implication that a Pepsi could end racism. On the other hand, brands are also eager to exploit
Another
the
time when
credibility
the Coke-
earned by
when
activists
Coke
to
did it
sell more
better.
stuff. Advertisers today are dealing with similar issues that they
Coke is
faced
better
from
than
social
Pepsi.
issues of the last century, but maybe a little more so. Millennial and Gen Z consumers overwhelmingly say that they prefer to buy from brands that share their values or have a higher purpose. That is, we want to know that our coffee is helping some farmer in Nicaragua send their kids to school, or that our beans do or don't support the right presidential candidate. But there's another force pushing this change. Today, products are increasingly disappearing from advertisements, which instead promote the more nebulous brand. Scholar Nikki Lisa Cole ties this transformation to the increased outsourcing of production, leaving corporations progressively more detached from the actual products they made. As Cole puts it, companies used to stand on a product. That was your name, the product you made. But when you don't actually make the product, you have to come up with something else to sell to people. That thing, of course, is a brand, and in many cases, a hashtag woke brand. As a result, brands are doing another new thing, something we've mentioned in previous videos. They're becoming people. Woke people. The rise of social media has enabled a host of new, usually painful ways for brands to interact with potential consumers. And interact they do, especially if it means making themselves look noble. Brands increasingly are placing themselves at the center of flashpoint cultural issues. A Bloomberg analysis found that within 3 weeks of the murder of George Floyd, 76 of the world's top 100 brands had posted at least one corporate statement about racial justice. In this Instagram post, Visa managed to incorporate 2 phrases iconic to its advertising, turning its slogan "Everywhere you want to be" into "Where we want to be," and slyly including part of their messaging "Accepted everywhere." Meanwhile, Zara, the fast fashion company made infamous in 2016 for profiting off of child labor, posted a black square that mostly yielded impatient comments from customers complaining about late shipping. This queasy moment encapsulates the uneasy relationship between commerce and social justice. While some saw the quote-unquote blackout as great for PR, many criticized it as co-opting a campaign conceived by black musicians and activists, who were drowned out amid a sea of corporate-sponsored and performative black squares. When the CEO of JP Morgan Chase took a knee to invoke Colin Kaepernick,
God damn, he's jacked. The Blackout Tuesday also hurt BLM activists. because it drowned out their posts, not just like the black artists that were starting it.
Diversity consultant Y. Von Hutchinson responded by telling the Washington Post that there's a lot of performative allyship going around. Nobody's asking for a CEO to take a knee. You take the knee after you change your...
It's so funny. It's so funny because it's like, people got so mad at me, especially in my Instagram following, when I said this is dumb. And they got so fucking butthurt. Liberals are so quick to just like attack when you go outside of the acceptable mainstream way of thinking.
And of course, as with feminism, it's not a coincidence that this outpouring of corporate support comes at a time when calls and support for ending police brutality is at an all-time high. In other words, they'll support Black Lives Matter when it's least controversial, most convenient, and financially safe to do so. Which is why I want to tell you right here and now that Wisecrack is committed to ensuring all women can apply for and use credit cards without male supervision. And you can take a stand right now with us by taking your credit card and using it to become a patron. Not only will you send a strong message to sexist credit card companies, but you'll get ad-free and early access to all of our videos. Plus, higher levels get you access to cool stuff like the Wisecrack Discord, where you can hang out with Wisecrack staff and fans,